just heard, and it's not widely being broadcasted yet, that as of right now, there's no confirmed cases in the state of Texas. However, in San Antonio, there was a patient under quarantine mandated by the CDC, and this patient was released on Saturday because he or she had tested negative twice in a row for coronavirus. So they were released into the public on Saturday. The bad news is on Sunday, the CDC says, oh no, wait a minute, we're getting a positive test result. So San Antonio is a bit of a state right now, doing some contact tracing with whoever this person from the CDC, this patient from the CDC that was recently released into the public. So that's a pretty big deal, an area of concern. I think that the United States should probably look to South Korea and to Japan and see how they're handling the coronavirus, because they're ahead of us on this, and they're handling it a lot better than us. Probably would be best if after you have been in quarantine and then you have 2 positive test results. That's great. That's 24 hours of 2 negative test results. So 2 negatives for coronavirus. So you're clear, you're free. You no longer have the virus, allegedly. Our tests that we're using are not good. And there's so little known about the coronavirus that even a negative or false positive obviously are causing some concern. It seems like it's just not a good reading yet. So best practices, all that to say this, in Japan and South Korea so far is after coming back with a negative test for coronavirus when you're in quarantine, you still need to remain in quarantine for another 14 days to risk reinfection or reinfecting the public. So San Antonio's CDC dropped the ball on that one, and I think we're yet to hear what's going to happen with that. Now, as far as other things that happened over the weekend, California's got thousands in self-quarantine. Washington State has had 2 deaths, and our first community outbreak there. So we'll hear more about that in the news later. New York has this morning, Monday morning, March 2nd, is on all of their local news channels breaking live with what New York plans to do regarding coronavirus and its city, New York City. So we'll be here in Texas, we'll be watching what New York does. So far as the market is concerned, the stocks are doing okay. I mean, they're actually, the last time I looked, they're actually up a little, up by 100, I believe. It is almost 9:30 here in Dallas, Texas. I'm actually in Louisville right now, about to go to a meeting for work. My kids are at home, except for my 16-year-old son. He's at school, and as I dropped him off today, I gave him the warning, don't touch your face, wash your hands. He actually has once a year he's an athlete, plays football at a gigantic 6A school in North Texas, and he has like I said, the once a year, I don't even know much about it, weightlifting competition against another large high school here in North Texas. And gosh, I can't imagine a more germ-infested place than a high school weight room. So he got an earful from me when I dropped him off this morning about washing his hands and not touching his face. I believe he's in good hands up at his high school. He's got the best. He's got some really good educators up there at his school that they're pretty wise. Still talking about a school full of, teenagers that may not have the best personal hygiene. Um, I also wanted to say that with all of the attention here in the United States focusing on California, Washington State, New York, and the East Coast, from what I understand, Rhode Island has some positives. And I heard something about Boston, but can't verify that in the news, so I don't know if that's actually correct. Um, I think that here in North Texas, we will be able to learn a lot by watching them and watching how the government and the various cities deal with this crisis. However, my fear is just a disruption in the supply chain with PPE, personal protective equipment, for our hospitals, our doctors, nurses, and first responders. That's my big concern. And all of the manpower, all of the supplies are probably going to be um, focused on California, Washington, the East Coast, and that leaves us in the South kind of to fend for ourselves. Um, when you get a chance, go on to CNBC or YouTube, Google CNBC, and look at Scott Gottlieb's last interview with CNBC. He is the former commissioner for the FDA. So he's no longer with the FDA, which to me that gives him more credibility. He can speak more freely. And on with him this morning was an infectious disease doctor out of New York City. And he is on the front lines in the ER at a New York hospital. Um, his name is Dr. Matt McCarthy, I believe. So Google that and hear what they had to say this morning, and then be the judge for yourself how you take their information. What they're saying is, CDC, you're dropping the ball on this. We do not have enough test kits out there. And I think what really, really went wrong with the CDC is that their tests are bad. It's not. I don't think they're trying to pull one over on the public to try to save the stocks. Um, I don't think there's any big conspiracy there. I just think that our tests are crap and we haven't caught up to that demand yet. So maybe now we're getting some good tests out there. Each state can now test their own people. You don't really have to go through the CDC now. However, I think the way the news outlets are allowed to announce it is presumptive positive tests for coronavirus. That's how we know it's the local entities have tested and they have their own positive, but confirmed positive is when the CDC tests, and that takes a while. You have to actually send it to the CDC and wait and let them test it. That's not going to work for us. Scott Gottlieb said that, uh, and Dr. Matt McCarthy, both doctors, um, with a lot of initials behind their names, so I kind of believe them. They say that probably there's about 1,000 cases unknown in the United States right now, and it's going to grow. It's going to be more. So we can anticipate in um, mid-March and April for it to hit the fan here in the USA. Granted, there's already stuff going on right now. I mean, people are, unbeknownst to themselves or the public, walking around with coronavirus right now. 80% of us completely fine, no issue there. It's the other 20% that we need to worry about. I mean, I don't want to go around infecting people that the elderly or have compromised immune systems. So I don't know. I'm not sure which direction our local authorities will go in, but we're pretty conservative here in Texas. I think we'll come in hard, heavy, and strong once once San Antonio begins confirming, or I guess presuming positive some coronavirus cases, which I think are going to be in our public right now. Um, all that being said, last night I finally jumped on Young Living and ordered some more thieves, and still maintaining the whole wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, and just putting a little thieves oil under my nose, around my mouth, just a tiny bit, with a carrier oil, and then using the rest on my fingernails, of both hands. Just doing that with my kids, and hopefully that'll make a difference. Um, well, that's all I have for today. You guys stay healthy out there.